Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I really do appreciate everybody who jumps in here and watches, especially on the product reviews, because I know that my Arizona viewers probably want to see more fishing than rod reviews, but understand I'm trying to build a nationwide following here, and rod reviews are really getting some good traction, so I'm going to keep doing them. So today we're doing a rod review of the Legend Tournament Drop Shot Finesse XL, which means it's 7'3". It's a medium light with an extra fast tip, and it's designed for drop shotting, and that's exactly what I'm using it for. So that's my purpose. I have a dedicated drop shot rod, so this is it for me, and I'm going to give you a quick review of all this. So my first impressions out of the box was this rod was really light, okay? And that's what I appreciate. I appreciate a light rod. I really like the handle. It's got a really nice handle and a really nice way to tighten down the rod. Lock nut, by the way, is really pretty awesome, and it feels pretty good in my hand. Now, one of the things to note is let's find a balance point. I've been kind of looking at balance of the rod lately because I've been looking at the Physys rods and then the Legend Tournament and sort of comparing them. I'll be doing more of that, but anyway, let's just see where this guy balances. So if I try to balance this, it looks like it's balancing pretty far in front of the rod handle. Okay, so but we're not done yet, right? We have to put a reel on it. So if I take a reel, and I'm using a Revo Rocket. I'll talk about this in the future, but this is the rod I'm using. I mean, the reel I'm using. Just stick it on there real quick, and then tighten her down, and then let's see where it balances. Now look where it balances now. This is pretty cool. So this is where this particular setup balances, and that's really good because I like to generally grab it like split finger. So it's pretty close to the top. Now, the reason, let's see what this reel weighs just so we know on this particular rod. Get this out, tear this out, and 7.97, that's what ounces, that's what this guy weighs. So it's probably not a super light reel, but it's not a heavy reel necessarily either. And this rod, for so we understand what it weighs. It weighs 4.06 ounces. Okay, so this is a really nice light rod. So this is my drop shot rod. I dedicated to drop shotting, meaning I always have it hooked up with a drop shot on it. Drop shotting is not my first way to attack a lake. I like to power fish, so I'd rather do almost anything except drop shot. I know I'm not the only one out there, but there are times when drop shot is what you need to do. And I can tell you one of the concerns when you're drop shotting is, can you have a drop shot rod that can handle some really good sized fish? Well, take a look while I continue to speak about the rod. This first one is a really nice smallmouth. It's like 3.5 pound smallmouth. I use this rod to catch that fish. If you notice, I'm not stressed out at all. Let me tell you why. This rod really handles big fish well. And that was surprising because when I first got the rod out of the package, I felt, well, it's going to be kind of light and wimpy, like, medium light, like, oh, is that okay? And that, so no, this rod really handles those big fish very well. I cannot be more impressed with this rod when handling larger fish. Keep that in mind, that this rod set up properly is going to land you those big fish. When I review a rod, I always use the DMRVP principles of making an assessment. That's description, meaning, relevance, value, and purpose. So I'm still doing the description. I gave you my out-of-box description. I did give you my purpose. I use it for drop shot. But now let's dive deeper into the description of this rod, and let's jump to the part of the review where I show you the bend of the rod against a wall. So let's check that out. This is my main drop shot rod at the moment. Okay, and I like it because of the extra fast tip. And you can kind of see it in action here. It's starting to bend and putting very little weight on it. And obviously, if you want to, work a drop shot, bounce it around a little bit, you have that extra fast tip. Now, put a little bit of pressure on it. You can see how it bends. And I'm not adding much pressure. All I'm doing now is I've just lifted up, and I realize that I probably have a bass on. Okay, that's about where I'm at. So it already has a little bit of give, and not much pressure. But as I give it some power, and I'm starting now, probably in the midst of a hook set right now. That's the kind of power I've got. in a hook set and a drop shot is a relative term. It's, I don't put a lot of pressure on a drop shot fish, but this is a medium amount of power. I wouldn't want to do too much more, but if I had to, I can give it all that, right? Now, this is probably, I'd be a little concerned about breaking off 8-pound test leader, or if I had 8-pound line, I'd be careful. So that's what this rod looks like. It certainly can handle fish very well. I'm not sure this rod for me would be used for Texas rig or something like that. I would certainly use this for open hook baits, like straight tail worms with open hooks. Obviously, if you're running things on your forward-looking sonar, those open hook baits, fine. This is a great rod for that. It's longer. Maybe you like that. Maybe you want a shorter one. They have a different model, not the XL version, right? So there you have it. That's a 7.3. Let's simulate it like I'm getting a bite. So I'm lifting up on this rod, and right about now I probably realize I have a fish. I'm not putting much pressure at all, and the tip is just bending a little bit. And as I move up and put the power on it there, now I've just set the hook, and I'm probably reeling like crazy trying to get that fish in. So that's about where I am. The amount of power I'm doing is probably only medium. I'm not putting a lot of power into this. I'm not leaning way back. I'm just kind of standing here fighting this fish. And that's what the rod will do. It's just an all-around good rod if you want a drop shot rod with a 7'3" length. You notice that how this rod bends, and you notice that this has an extra fast tip, okay? That's pretty important when I describe some of the relevance and meaning of this rod. But before we do that, let's go into the very deep description of this rod. I'm going to tell you everything about it ad nauseum, actually. So if you've seen this before, where I talk about these Legend Tournament rods, you can skip over and jump to the next part. This is the St. Croix Legend Tournament Bass Spinning Drop Shot Finesse XL. The rod specifications are as follows. The model number is LBTS73MLXF. It is a drop shot finesse XL technique. XL just means it's the 7'3" model. The price is $300. The length, of course, is 7'3", and it weighs 4.06 ounces. The power is medium light, and the action is extra fast. The line weight is from 6 pounds to 20 pounds, and the lure weight is 1/16 to 3/8. It has a split grip handle. The reel seat is a Fuji VSS. The seat lock is a machine-cut anodized aluminum. The seat lock is a machine-cut anodized aluminum. The seat lock is machine-cut anodized aluminum. And the rod guides are 9 Fuji K-Series tangle-free guides with alkalite rings. Here are the rod technologies. SC4 Plus hybrid carbon fiber combines St. Croix Level 4 high modulus carbon fibers with St. Croix Level 6 super high modulus carbon to produce the lightest, most sensitive, and balanced rods possible for the money. It also allows for the Legend Tournament line to possess a large number of technique-specific rods to choose from. IPC stands for Integrated Polycurve. It is a computer-aided design and tooling technology that allows for the design of specific power and action combinations. Polycurve stands for polynomial curve used in CAD design packages to create smooth curves between control points. This eliminates abrupt rod blank transitions, making them stronger. What I find incredible as a software guy is that modern machines can cut the long, thin rod mandrels that follow the long tapering curves. ART stands for Advanced Reinforcing Technology. It is a special carbon fiber material that, when placed strategically on a rod blank, provides 10x strength without adding weight, St. Croix claims. The purpose is to improve the hoop strength and thus prevents the blank from deforming under severe load. FRS stands for Fortified Resin System. It is a combination of super high resin and computer-controlled curing ovens that keep the fiber properly aligned. St. Croix claims that this process makes the rods 33% stronger. TET stands for Taper Enhancement Technology, and it is the process of cutting curved, blank patterns based upon computer designs that, combined with IPC mandrels, creates blanks with better actions and improved sensitivity. IACT is a technology used in a number of the Legend Tournament rods that combine the SC4 Plus graphite material with linear S-glass technology that runs through the full length of the rod. The SC4 material is placed in locations and amounts to optimize strength, sensitivity, balance, and weight. The unique action helps with the casting accuracy, and that is something that I can verify. iAct gives the rods a softer, more moderate action, targeted for use with reaction baits and treble hooks for fast-moving baits like a spinnerbait, buzzbait, or chatterbait. The results created by the use of these technologies are rods that are lighter, cast better, and more sensitive and stronger to the degree that St. Croix provides a 15-year warranty. The current policy for warranty replacements is a $60 charge to ship you a new rod. That process is very simple. You take photos of your rod model and serial number and a photo of the break, fill out a warranty claim on the website, and upload the photos. The St. Croix customer service rep will contact you to make arrangements for the $60 payment. Lastly, and one of the reasons that I chose St. Croix is that the Legend Tournament rods are made in America and Wisconsin specifically. I'm happy to buy American every chance I get. So there you have the full explanation, description, I should say, of this rod. Nobody does a more in-depth description than I do on these rods. So I hope you at least learned something from them. I really do appreciate you spending the time going through all that part of the rod review. Anyway, let's move on to the meaning of the rod. So the meaning of a rod is, how does it affect my concerns? So what's a concern? Like, what does that mean when you go fishing? Well, let's talk about castability. Okay, can you cast a bait well? Let's talk about sensitivity. You know, does the rod have sensitivity? Does the rod weight? What's the weight of the rod? What about its detectability? Now that's a good one. I'm going to talk more about that, but that's more important to me than sensitivity. Okay, can I detect that there's a fish on there? Okay. What about landing bigger fish? What about hooking up with fish? These are all concerns that we all have, and we must be willing to understand what we're after before we can actually check out a rod. I mean, you can run around and listen to other people and say, oh, I just want a rad rod, or one that's really sick and it's really cool, or whatever. Those words have no meaning. There's nothing behind them. So what matters in meaning is what your concerns are. So when I have a rod like this, a drop shot rod, there's one big thing that I need out of this rod. I want to be able to actually hook bigger fish and land those bigger fish. And this rod surprises me, and you've seen some of the footage, so I am surprised. And let me tell you why it's important. So I have a very small little setup here, a very small little drop shot hook, and a little 4-inch bait, right? So when you're fishing, when you get a bigger fish that bites and they engulf that bait, right? And they're 25 feet down and they're 30 feet in front of the boat, you got to be able to get that hook into that fish. Okay, so what does that mean, right? Almost never can you actually set the hook and actually catch them, right? So not that far away, not with a light line and not with lighter rods. But you know what you need though, is you need a rod that has enough backbone so that when you put pressure on that fish, right, that fish, instead of, by the way, what fish do is they'll fight a little bit and they'll just open their mouth and the bait will come out, right? Because if you have too wimpy of a rod, that's what'll happen. I don't understand why exactly the mechanics of it, but that's how it is. If you have a stouter rod and you can put more pressure on that fish, and even as that fish swims around and is locked down tight, you probably can get just a little bit of movement as they open up their mouth, a little bit of movement, and I don't know if you can tell now, but that hook is now just starting to hook into my hand, okay? So now when that fish opens up his mouth, that bait can move more, and that's when you want a rod that you can actually put some power into some fish, okay? So you can actually then put some pressure on that fish and embed that hook more, especially if that fish turns, then you'll have them, okay? But I can tell you, if you don't have that, the fish will come up to the top and it'll open their mouth and it'll just spit it out. It'll just go like that, because you don't have a rod with a right amount of power. And so in a drop shot rod, there's this interesting balance of power and sensitivity. And I can tell you, I think St. Croix got this right. This is a medium light action. This rod's got way more power than that sounds like it should have. Like medium light, you think wimpy. This rod is not wimpy. Don't know why. Maybe it's the action with the extra fast tip, but on the tip up here, as you've seen, it's important to note that the first part of this rod is the rod that the quarter of this rod is what bends initially until you get into the body of this rod, and then that's when you start getting the power. Okay, the extra fast tip is there, I think, and that's why they call it a finesse. So I see that St. Croix will call a rod something finesse, because it has an extra fast tip. Certainly in their spinning rods, that's important, because what you want to be able to do is get it out there, and you might want to shake that. And that little extra fast tip up there, it allows you to shake it, and I think that's what they're after. And so this extra fast tip does that. So, you know, this rod is an incredible smallmouth finesse rod for drop shotting, probably. I don't know how it would fare on other types of techniques, but out here in the West, people chase after smallmouth, and world-class smallmouth fishing that we have at Mojave and Lake Havasu, by the way. And by the way, I think Lake Powell is starting to show up. Maybe not as large, but you can go catch the heck out of them. I think guys go for drop shots, and so if you're going to have a drop shot rod, get one that'll handle those smallmouth. And so I think this rod is really good at that. Let's talk about sensitivity and why I'm not so concerned. When I fish drop shot, when I fish almost everything, I put it on a slack line. It's just my style. I'm not saying it's better than other people's style. It's just how I do it. So what I want then is detectability. So when I have that fish, and I start, and he's slacklining, and I may be shaking it, and he may have grabbed that, and I lift up, I want to know when there's pressure. When I feel when I feel any pressure, that's detectability. When I feel that, I know, oh, like something's wrong here, and I just kind of lean into him and start reeling. By the way, that's why I love this particular reel. It's a Revo Rocket. It's a for spinning rod. It's their older model. I don't think it's 10-to-1. I think it's 9-to-1. If I have that right. So I love that, because with this reel, I can really start taking up line fast. So I lean into them, and then I start reeling like crazy. And this high-speed reel really does it. Now, I'll review this reel in the future, because I use this on 2 different rods, and it's pretty impressive reel. But let's keep this in mind, that because it's like a 10-speed bike, and I am in high gear, that when you start reeling, it seems like you're kind of wrenching on it, but then once you get it going, right, you can really take up a lot of line, and that's incredibly important if, again, you're 30 feet out and 25 feet down. Heck, there are times here in Arizona where we'll go down 45, 50 feet on a drop shot, okay? So not only do you want a rod with an appropriate amount of backbone in length to help you pull that line up, you also want that reel take up line. So I really like this combination. And I mentioned castability, right? So, I mean, in my humble opinion, rods are meant for 2 things. One, casting. So you're casting, the ability to cast the bait at the weight that the bait is, accurately in its distance or whatever you're after in a particular situation. And secondarily, it's really hooking and getting the fish in. It's sort of like landing the fish, right? So those are the 2 most important things. If you can't cast, you can't catch a fish, right? And if you can't hook a fish and land them, then what's the point? So this rod here is, you know, rated from 1/16, I should say, to 3/8. Well, I throw 3/16 on here on a drop shot rig, and it casts very well. My typical is a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight. You know, got one right here. You know, you can see that it's pretty rather small. And then I have some that are a little bigger, so that's a 3/8 ounce. That happens to be tungsten. So, and this rod can handle that 3/8 ounce, no issue. My opinion, this rod can handle more than 3/8 ounce. Okay. Another thing, the line is rated from 6 to 20. 6 to 20. Okay. Whoa, hold up now. If you had a wimpy little rod and you put 20-pound test on it, and then you laid into a fish because you have 20-pound test, you can really, I mean, the rod may not be set up to handle that. This rod will handle that. So this rod's got a lot of power, and I emphasize that because I think it's important. I want my drop shot rods to have a little bit of power and yet be able to, I can shake them with a tip or something. Now, that's not for everybody. I know there are a lot of drop shot fishermen who like really wimpy rods, and it's their style and their technique. It's not for me. I don't like it when I can't control the fish. I don't like it. And as I mentioned before, you've seen me control some pretty nice fish with this rod, and that's what gives me the confidence that this rod is right for me. So what about the value of this rod? You know, and value is importance, utility, and worth, okay? So we can talk about the worth part. To me, worth just equates to what it costs. Like this rod is worth $300 because that's what you pay for it when you buy it new, let's say, right? Of course. So this rod is worth $300. That's the market, what the market says. But is it worth it to me? Well, that's what value is. Is this rod important to me? Well, yes, of course it is, because it is my sole rigged up drop shot rod. I always have it rigged up, even though I don't like doing it much, right? I always have it rigged up in case I need to get out there and throw a drop shot. So it's always rigged. Sometimes I can pull it right out of the rod locker. I'll have a 4 or 6 inch worm and I'll chuck it out there. So it is important to me to have a drop shot rod. And anybody fishing Arizona or anybody fishing Clearwater, smallmouth, largemouth, and all that kind of stuff, certainly you need something like this. Highland reservoirs in the middle of the country, absolutely you need a drop shot rod. And its utility, well, for me, it's like, again, its utility is, in fact, for a drop shot, and this is an incredibly good drop shot rod. Now, I will say one thing as I'm talking about this. Some people might not want a 7'3" version of this rod. They actually have a 6'10", same thing, medium light with an extra fast tip. I'll review that in the future, but I use it not necessarily for drop shotting. I use it for other things. But if you want a little shorter rod with the same basic action and the same power, it's a good option for you as well. So in recap, you know, this rod really fulfills a need for me. And I think it's a really, really nice rod. Once I get the reel on, by the way, this has a really nice balance point, as I noted, right? So that's pretty critical. So I can hold on this rod. I get this high-speed reel, boom, this works for me, right? Again, I've said it a couple times, drop shot is not my go-to, but if you're a drop shotter and you like drop shotting a lot, you probably will want more than one drop shot rod, and this one should be considered to be put on your list. It's that good. You know, if you're a St. Croix fan, this is definitely, I think, one of their better rods. It feels like to me that St. Croix does better at making spinning rods for, let's say, smallmouth fishing, because they're in smallmouth country. So it feels like their rod design for spinning rods is just a little bit more refined than maybe their bait casters, at least in the tournament legend line. Now, that's just an impression, an interpretation I've made of what I've seen. That's a wrap on this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't stop yet, because on the way out here, I'm going to show you me. On the way out, I'm going to show me catching another fish on this particular rod as I exit. So please like and subscribe and leave a comment. I love little short comments. Those help the algorithms. I don't usually respond to those short ones like "great job," "nice job, Joe." That's cool. I appreciate it. But you have a longer comment, go right ahead and leave a longer comment, and I'll reply to you, because I enjoy, you know, communicating with my viewers. I'm going to do another rod review in the future between the Physys and the Legend Tournament, another comparison of two of exactly the same blank models, okay? I'll have that coming out pretty soon. And I'm going to do another rod review on another 7'3" spinning rod that I use in a really strange way that most people wouldn't recognize. It's a great way to fish out here in the canyon walls that we have and bluffs and stuff like that. So it's unique. I hope you will enjoy seeing that review. And I have some more fishing videos. I still have some more buzzbait videos and things like that to show you that I think are worthy of your time. So I appreciate it when you do that. One more time, like and subscribe. Have a great day. And by the way, be free out there. We're Americans. It's important for us to be free. That's what we are here for.